Hi everyone. Today I have a special guest in my show, Dr. Sarah Yu Show, U.S. Senate show, as well as Dr. Sarah for You Write and You Vision, as well as Dr. Sarah for show, American Voice, as today's America and the World show, and then also TV show You Write and You Vision. Today, I have a special co-host, Dr. Paul Messer. He is a great my campaign advisor, and he is a Judy and study at Judy, and as well as he had so many background political contributor in America, as well as I have a great special Professor who is achieved his PhD, and as well as a cybersecurity specialist is professor. He will introduce yourself. And can you introduction the advisor Paul? Can you introduce yourself first?
Yes, I have my Doctor of Law degree, the Juris Doctor degree from the University of Oklahoma in 1997, and I have a bachelor's degree in Asian Studies with the Chinese language primarily from 1991 at the University of Oklahoma. But I studied in China in the Guangzhou Institute of Foreign Languages in 1988 and 89 during Tiananmen Square that year. And I have some involvement with cybersecurity as a consultant for a patent application that was successfully granted for elliptical algebraic approaches to encryption standards that was developed by Professor Lee here in Taiwan and obtained an American patent for that. So I'm very interested today, our special guest, Dr. Leo Hu from Australia, a very senior professor in cybersecurity there, who has a very interesting paper that was published last year, kind of like a James Bond thriller paper, where he studies how in some of these movies about great thefts or intelligence operations, they have a security system where they monitor how you're walking into a building or walking into a safe, and the way that you walk your gait and the transduction of that gait is monitored as a security system. And Dr. Hu developed a paper with his students and colleagues that explains how we can cheat that system and get into, like you see in the movies, and how to address that from the cybersecurity perspective to reinforce the security that's available to those secure access systems. So that was an interesting system called the Pistis paper that I hope you'll speak a little bit about how they developed their research team and came up with the topic. And because it's something you see in Netflix and you see James Bond and this kind of thing, that was quite an interesting paper. And another interesting paper I hope you'll talk about is his brain print paper about EEG and the electroencephalogram signal as a means of identifying a unique individual person and distinguishing them from someone else, and then having that individual brain print serve as a biometric device for computer security and for national security and homeland security. And so that's a fascinating, and privacy. And so that's a fascinating paper that he also supervised a few years ago. So I hope Dr. Hu can speak on these issues.
Yeah,
Thanks.
great introduction. And Professor Leo, yourself, can you introduce yourself?
Okay, thank you. My name is Jian Guan Hu. I'm a full professor of cybersecurity at the School of System and Computing, UNSW Canberra, which is also called Australian Defence Force Academy. I got my PhD degree in 1993 from Harbin Institute of Technology. And I also got a master degree in computer software engineering from Monash University in Australia. My expertise, as Paul has introduced, is in cybersecurity, mainly the biometrics, intrusion detection, and applied cryptography. Thank you.
Oh, great. So we have about myself a full question for you, and as well as my co-host, Dr. Paul, had another about 4 questions. And my first question is, I want to know about your early age background, as well as your family or any your school, how you become today, those early age background make you today, as well as who influenced you to today's your career. Yeah.
Yes, thank you. So I think we did the normal schooling, the elementary school, primary school, high school, and so on, and then college study, university, and then a postgraduate, a PhD, and so on. I think the influence of my early career is the college lecturer and the professors. They motivate me to get the some passion for research, the curiosity that drives me. And of course, this is a long journey, academic journey. We spend lots of effort to become the current professor because you need a lot of research outcome, get a grant, and so on. I think your question has another thing is that how I become interested in the cybersecurity. So this is a very good question. So basically, I was very interested in, I think Paul probably right pointing out the biometric security, because when you see those fascinating, like a fingerprint, a face, you can authentic this person. And I really fascinated about that one. And then I began to do the research in this area. And then from there, and then I realized that biometrics is actually about authentication in cybersecurity, which is the first things when you talk about the cybersecurity. You need to authenticate this person. And the current, lots of security mechanism is based on the password or token, like your USB and so on. And unfortunately, they do not authenticate the person because it depends on the knowledge, like a password. It can be guessed out, and then the memorizing a complicated password is very hard. So then normally people choose very simple password, and then you can get it broken every second in the world. You can see the report, probably hundreds of thousands each day easily. And but biometrics can solve this problem in a sense. You got your own face and fingerprint that is quite unique. So currently I'm working also on the biocryptography that tries to put the authentication together with the encryption, decryption, these type of things. Thank you. And if you want me to illustrate this paper Paul mentioned, I can give more illustrations on that.
Great answer. Dr. Paul, can you have any question for section A, part of his background and early influence? Yeah.
Yeah, I'm curious about when you study, before you study your PhD, was the end of the Cultural Revolution in China, and schools were not always open and accessible, and many students had to study at home on their own in order to finish their studies at that time. So a PhD in 1983 is quite amazing that you were very quickly able to get into the technical college right after the end of the Cultural Revolution. So I'm interested, in America, many cybersecurity experts, like my cousin, for example, They gained their experience as a youth, as a hacker. And I think in China, probably that's more common now, but in your time, it probably wasn't very common. But did you ever try any, for instance, to hack a computer system, your own computer maybe? When I was in elementary school, we had the first computer at home using a basic language for programming. And so we would also try to hack into the computer itself and try to make new games and things like that. And so I'm interested in, as a youth, did you have that kind of spirit that when you saw in the popular culture how biometrics were being used, like the Matrix or James Bond and these things, how did that work with your education, formal education? And did you have any mentors or teachers who were particularly skilled in the mathematics and the science underlying hacking and cybersecurity and the new field you're studying, contributing to developing the new field of cybersecurity or biocryptography, where you're combining these unique personal characteristics of the user with various encryption systems to provide even better, even higher levels of security, which we're going to need as we move into the 5G era, where users will want to be able to enhance our personal capabilities in the 5G systems and ensure that our interactions are secure and that our identity, our online identity is secure, and using biocryptography to obtain those solutions seems like the right track to be taking.
Yeah, thanks. So perhaps I need to mention that the cybersecurity issue is quite recent, probably 20 years ago. I mean, become prominent. Because why is that? Because cybersecurity means you have to be on like internet, for instance. So this is quite a new thing with the larger scale interconnection. You rightly pointed out. Then it becomes the issue. But before that, there was no such attention because you need to have an infrastructure, networking, a widespread applications. And before that, nobody, I mean, noticed the importance of that. And then this is quite, actually, cybersecurity is quite recent with the advanced of the internet applications. So coming back to the work you pointed out, I would love to illustrate a little bit the importance of that. The cybersecurity, I think you probably know the Ukrainian war here. The drone plays lots of roles there. However, the drone can be hacked because the lots of drones, they are remotely through the wireless connection to control them, to send instruction and maneuver them. This can be hacked. It's related to the authentication. There are two ways to attack them. One is called a denial of service attack, which you jam the connection channel. I think if I'm correct, the Iranian probably did it that way. So you jam the communication channel, so the operator would lose the control of it. This is one. Another one, more advanced, that you probably hack the authentication, and then you can take the control of the drone. So this is very, very important one. I'm not sure whether the first one, the denial of service attack, that's happened in real battlefield, but I'm not sure whether the hacking to control the drone and then use against the operator, that one, I don't know. I mean, I haven't seen the report, but that would be the next step, perhaps. And then when you talk about the EEG, this is super important for such applications because EEG is actually used for the human interface with the machines, like drones. So those commands and all these things can be attached to your EEG, your brain, through the brain or interface with the machine directly. So that can control lots of machines. and then got authenticated. Because if you don't have this EEG, even you know the password, whatever, you cannot control the machines, like the Flying Jones and so on. So this is really fascinating. And then as you mentioned, yeah, so that's the thing I want to illustrate, the EEG work we have done. Yeah.
A great
Thank you.
answer, So we're going to go next section that I want to know and my audience know about you are currently stay in Australia long time. So I want to know when you start start Australia kind of life and what kind of environment in Australia, because in America and Australia different environment to exercise your professional job as well as so I want to know about that. Yeah.
Yes, I think this is a very good question. You probably target some audience who, like me, immigrate to America, for instance. How would you find your path? Is that correct? That's the thing. You want
Yeah,
to?
Chris, I went to Australia 2 years ago, stayed like 3 weeks. So I had some cultural feeling, cultural differentiation. Like we need a lot of adaptability needed to go another country. So I think you are go from your own country to go to the Australia. I think there is a lot of distance management as well as cultural adaptance risk you have it. But maybe you can share to anything you want to share in your Australia life. How
Okay, yeah. Thank you. So yes, I would like to share that one. I think probably can be helpful for these type of persons. Actually, I did my Humboldt Fellowship, as Paul has found out, in Germany. There was a prestigious fellowship. And I also did a fellowship in Netherlands. Delft University. They're also top university. So you can see I got a very good credential before I immigrate to Australia. However, even with that credential, I found it's very hard to find a job, a good job. So it's struggling, as you mentioned, because you don't know anybody there, you don't have connections, and then people probably don't buy it with your experience and so on. So you have to make more contacts and explore anything. You have to look at the market. Anything that is, you have to be ready to change yourself. So, for instance, I did a second master degree in Monash University from computer software engineering. So that probably helped me to find a good job. So you should be. So if you have difficulty, you need to keep trying, and also explore the new opportunities. Never be afraid to change yourself, even the career, to find the best environment you can settle in. So that is the advice I could give to say the immigrants to the new countries.
Oh, great answer. Dr. Paul, can you ask one more question? And then we will going to finish segment 1 and then we can come back to a show, okay? Yeah, after you. We have about 8 minutes remain, yeah.
Okay, very good. Well, that's very fascinating to learn how you overcame the difficulties of immigrating to Australia from China indirectly after you had some very prestigious learning experience with the Humboldt Fellowship in Germany, and then with the fellowship you had at the prestigious and renowned Delft University in Holland. So those no doubt helped you to secure at least your first position in Melbourne in Australia before you did the second master's degree at Monash. I have a good friend, Mattel Xu, who also did his master's and PhD at Monash, and who's now a cybersecurity expert in Taiwan. But he's much younger, and his cybersecurity experience comes from being a hacker as a young person, and not from his formal training, his PhDs in anthropology or something like that, not computer science at all. in the US now, we have this idea, you mentioned the Ukrainian war and the Russians and Ukrainians using drones. We have an Institute for Nano Soldier Development. And the idea of the nano soldier will be to combine biocryptography with advanced soldiering systems so that when you have a military drone, you may indeed have a brain print EEG controlling that. And so I'm curious if you think that the human computer interface, HCIS, for drones and or just for people with neuromuscular disorders and things who need this kind of HCIS interface to develop more ability to interact with others. If that kind of a system could be subject to a brute force attack, and if the Bitcoin mining, if those chips develop specifically for brute force attacks, could they be used by enemies to try to do the hack authentication that you mentioned for a drone just by brute force?
Good, very good question. I think the EEG things has two aspects. One is the security, as you mentioned, like a password, whatever, they still have these type of things. But there's another thing is called the liveness. So when you pick up the signal, it must be from the living thing. There's some sensor doing this. So it makes it almost impossible to hack. So, you know what I mean? The signal must be captured from a living things, the liveness detection of the sensor. So that makes sure the EEG is coming from living stuff. And then we know the living stuff is very hard to get the same person have the same EEG signal and so on. I think you mentioned a lot of things about hacking. Actually, I got another research area, which is intrusion detection. So I have done lots of work in this area. And the intrusion detection, there are lots of, now there's some stealth attack. So they can cover their trace of hacking into your system. Like the critical infrastructure, the smart grid, the power system. Now there's a new attack is called a false data injection attack. So they can manipulate the measurement, the sensor measurement, such that they can bypass the existing industry is called better data detection. And then they can do this. So it's a very hot area. And then they can, if successfully, they can probably bypass your system and cripple your whole smart grid power system. That would be a disaster, national disaster. So these things I'm also investigating.
Also, let me ask very quickly, Sarah, a follow-up question for Dr. Hu. Your work involves the America, New Zealand, Australia, ANZUS alliance because your faculty and your campus is based at the Australian Defence Force Academy. Are you actually training Australian Defence Force students in your classes and in your laboratory?
That's correct. All the students are from defense, most of them, except the postgraduate, some online and these type of things. But the undergraduates, mostly from the defense personnel or airlines, as you say, Thailand, Singaporean, but they're all from defense. Yes, they're all from defense. We are the contractor actually to provide the defense, the education.
Okay, great answers. We will have some break time. We will come back to record next segment. Okay.